301. Aphrodite and the Ugly Slave Woman. A master fell in love with an ugly, ill-natured slave woman. She received gold from him and adorned herself lavishly, wearing luxurious purple robes, but constantly picked fights with her mistress. The slave woman frequently made offerings to Aphrodite, thanking the goddess for making her beautiful. One night, Aphrodite appeared to the slave woman in a dream and said, "Do not thank me for making you beautiful. I am actually furious at the man who finds you attractive. Those who gain wealth through shameful means should not be arrogant, especially if they are low-born and ugly, as it only leads to greater disgrace." 302. The Oaks and Zeus. The oak trees came to Zeus with a complaint. "O Zeus, why did you bring us into this world if we were only meant to suffer? Among all plants we endure the most violent cutting." Zeus replied, "You have only yourselves to blame. If you did not produce the very wood used for axe handles, no one would have the means to cut you down. Those who bring misfortune upon themselves foolishly blame the gods." 303. The Woodcutters and the Tree. Some woodcutters were splitting a tree. They made wedges from the tree itself and used them to split it easily. The tree said, "I don't blame the axe that cuts me as much as the wedges born from my own wood. It is not as painful to suffer at the hands of strangers as it is from one's own kin." 304. The Fir Tree and the Bramble. A fir tree and a bramble were arguing. The fir tree boasted, "I am beautiful, tall and stately. I grow close to the clouds and am used for temple roofs and ships. You, a mere thorn, are useless in comparison to me." The bramble replied, "Oh, poor thing, if you remembered the axes and saws that cut you down, you might wish to be a bramble rather than a fir tree. One should not take pride in glory, for the life of the humble is free from danger." 303. Deer. A deer had grown weak and lay resting in a grassy meadow where she could still graze when hungry. Flocks of different animals came to visit her, for she had always been a kind neighbor. One by one, each visitor nibbled at the grass around her. Then, forgetting the sick deer, they wandered back to the woods. By the time she recovered, there was nothing left to eat. And so, not from illness but from hunger, she wasted away. Had she never had such friends, she might have lived to old age. 306. Hermes, the Man and the Ants. Once there was a ship that sank, and all the men aboard perished. A man who witnessed the event said that the god's judgment was unfair. He argued that, because of just one sinner on the ship, many innocent men had died along with him. While the man was speaking, a swarm of ants appeared nearby, busily scurrying to feed on some bits of wheat chaff. One of the ants bit the man, and in his anger he stomped on a large number of the ants. At that moment, Hermes appeared. He struck the man with his wand and said, "So are you going to let the gods pass judgment on you, just as you have passed judgment on the ants?" 307. Hermes, the Sculptor and his Dream. A sculptor was selling a white marble statue of Hermes. Two men wanted to buy it. One, whose son had recently died, wanted it for a tombstone. The other, a craftsman, wanted to dedicate it to the god. It was late, and the sculptor had not yet sold the statue. He agreed to show it again to the men when they returned the next morning. That night, the sculptor dreamed of Hermes standing at the gate of dreams. The god spoke to him, "My fate is in your hands. You will make me either a dead man or a god." 308. Hermes and the Dog. A four-cornered statue of Hermes stood by the roadside, with a pile of stones beneath it. A dog approached and said, "Greetings, Hermes. I wish to anoint you as is fitting for a god, especially one from the wrestling ground." Hermes responded, "If you can refrain from licking the oil off me and not urinating on me, I will be thankful enough. You need not honor me in any other way." 309. Hermes and the Arabs. Hermes once loaded a cart with lies, trickery, and deceit, and travelled across the land, distributing a portion of his cargo to each region. When he reached the land of the Arabs, it is said that his cart suddenly broke down. The Arabs, seeing the contents as valuable merchandise, seized everything from the cart and prevented Hermes from continuing his journey to other peoples. As a result, the Arabs became known as liars and cheats among all other nations. Note: during Aesop's time, 6th century BCE, there was no direct contact between the Greeks and Arabs. The Arab region was still in the pre-Islamic period, and both ancient Greek and Arab civilizations developed independently. Aesop's fables reflect Greek society and culture, and there was no historical interaction with Arab culture during that time. 3. The eunuch and the priest. The eunuch approached the priest, asking him to perform a sacrifice so that he might become a father. The priest replied, "When I look at the sacrifice, it seems that you will have children, but when I look at your appearance, you don't even seem like a man." 3.11. Zeus and man. At the beginning, when the animals were created, Zeus gave each one a gift. Some received strength, some speed, and others wings. However, man stood there naked and said to Zeus, "You have left me without a gift." Zeus replied, "You are unaware of the gift you have received, yet it is the greatest of all. You have been given speech and reason, which have power both among gods and mortals. They are mightier than strength and swifter than speed." When man realized the gift he had been given, he bowed before Zeus and offered his thanks. Although all have been honored by the word of God, some, unaware of such honor, envy the senseless and irrational animals even more. 3.12. Zeus and the jar of good things. Zeus placed all the good things in a jar and entrusted it to a man. But the man, unable to control his curiosity, opened the jar to see what was inside. At once, all the good things escaped and flew back to the gods. Only hope remained. That is why hope alone stays with humankind, promising to one day return the blessings that were lost. 3.13. Zeus and the potsherds. Zeus instructed Hermes to record human sins on potsherds and pile them in a box near him. This way, Zeus could review each person's misdeeds and deliver justice accordingly. Since the potsherds were jumbled together, some reached Zeus's hands quickly while others remained buried for a long time. That is why some wicked people commit crimes in haste, yet go unpunished for years, while others face judgment almost immediately. Thus, we should not be surprised when wrongdoing is met with delayed justice. Some are judged swiftly, while others must wait their turn. 3.14. The sun and the frogs. The sun was having a wedding feast in summer. All the animals rejoiced, and the frogs were especially delighted. But one of them, after heaving a deep sigh, cried out to the others, saying, "O foolish and slow of heart, why do you shout and rejoice as if expecting something good to happen? If the sun, being all alone, scorches all the forests and the earth, what terrible fate will we suffer if he marries and has a child just like himself?" 3.15. The boastful mule. A mule, having eaten his fill of oats, suddenly jumped up and began running, neighing loudly and shaking his head. "My father is a swift horse," he boasted, "and I am as fast as he is." But when he stopped and caught his breath, he hung his head in shame, suddenly remembering that his father was just a donkey. 3.16. Heracles and Athena. Heracles was travelling through a narrow path when he spotted something resembling an apple on the ground. He tried to crush it with his club, but upon being struck, the object swelled up to twice its size. Heracles struck it again, even harder, causing it to grow so large that it blocked his way. Perplexed, Heracles dropped his club and stood there in astonishment. Athena appeared and said, "Brother, stop being amazed. What you are facing is contentiousness and strife. If left alone, it remains small, but if you choose to fight it, it will swell and grow large." 3.17. The incompetent doctor. There was an incompetent doctor. While attending to a sick patient, all the other doctors said that the patient was not in danger but would suffer from a prolonged illness. This doctor alone told the patient to prepare everything, as he would not survive beyond tomorrow. After saying this, he left. Some time later, the patient got up, walked out looking pale and walking with difficulty. The doctor met him and said, "Greetings. How are those in the underworld?" The patient replied, "They are resting, drinking from the waters of Lethe. Recently, Thanatos and Hades were threatening all the doctors terribly, accusing them of not letting the sick die, and they were writing down their names. They were about to write yours down too, but I fell before them and begged, swearing to them that you weren't a real doctor and had been falsely accused." Note, Thanatos. Thanatos is the personification of death in ancient Greek mythology, the god who brings death. Hades, Aesop, is the god of the underworld in Greek mythology, ruling over the realm where the souls of the dead reside. The old horse, an old horse exhausted from many battles and races, was assigned to the never-ending laborious task of turning the millstone in circles. The horse groaned in great pain and said, "Alas! How did I go from racing swiftly on the tracks to this place where I must slowly turn this endless circle? One should not boast about their former glory or strength, for many grow old from hard work." 319. The horse and the groom. A groom would steal and sell the horse's barley. He spent all day grooming and combing the horse. The horse said, "If you truly want me to look good, don't sell the food that nourishes me." 320. The horse and the soldier. The soldier took care of his horse while the war lasted, feeding it with barley and treating it as a noble companion in battle. But when the war ended and peace prevailed, the soldier no longer received pay from the state. The horse, now tasked with menial labour, would often carry heavy logs from the woods into the city, and at times it carried various loads for others, surviving on only poor chaff. Its harness was no longer that of a war horse. Then, when the sound of war was heard again, the trumpet called everyone to ready their shields, sharpen their swords, and prepare their horses. The soldier bridled his horse and led it out to mount, but the horse collapsed, exhausted and powerless. "Go fight on foot with the infantry," the horse said. "You have changed me from a horse into a donkey. How can you expect to have a horse again from a donkey?" 321. The camel in the river. Once a camel was crossing a fast-flowing river. After relieving herself, she saw her excrement floating ahead of her, swept by the strong current of the water. "What is this?" she said. "The thing that should have stayed behind is now ahead of me." This shows that often the dishonourable advance ahead of the honourable. 322. The crab and its mother. A mother crab told her child, "Don't walk sideways, and don't rub your sides against the wet rocks." The young crab replied, "Mother, you who are teaching me, walk straight yourself, and I will watch and imitate you." This fable rebukes those who find fault in others. One must first live uprightly before instructing others. 323. The raven and Hermes. A raven was caught in a snare and in his distress prayed to Apollo. He promised to offer frankincense if Apollo would set him free. Once he escaped, however, he forgot his vow. Later he was caught in another snare. This time he ignored Apollo and instead promised a sacrifice to Hermes. Hermes looked at him and said, "Wretched creature, you betrayed your first master. Why should I trust you now?" Sick raven. A raven fell ill and said to his mother, "Mother, pray to the god and don't weep." She replied, "Which of the gods, my child, will have pity on you? Whose meat have you not stolen?" This fable shows that those who make many enemies in life will find no friends in times of need. 325. The crested lark and the farmer. A crested lark made her nest in a grassy field where golden wheat was growing. The farmer, eager to harvest the ripe crop, asked his neighbours for help. Hearing this, the frightened chicks urged their mother to move. The mother reassured them, saying there was no need to leave yet. The next day, when friends didn't come, the farmer decided to ask his relatives for help. Again, the chicks reported this to their mother, who remained calm, saying relatives rarely respond quickly to such requests. Finally, the farmer told his son they would harvest the wheat themselves the next day. Upon hearing this, the mother lark said, "Now it's time to leave. When the farmer relies on himself, it will surely happen." The lark family abandoned their nest, and the farmer harvested his crop. Rather than relying on external help, believing in one's own strength and moving forward is what ultimately leads to success. 326. The hunter and the lion. A timid hunter was tracking a lion in the deep, dark mountain forest. He came across a woodcutter near a large pine tree and asked, "By the nymphs, have you seen any lion tracks around here?" The woodcutter replied, "You're in luck. I can show you the lion itself right now." The hunter turned pale, his teeth chattering with fear. He stammered, "That's very kind of you, but I'm only looking for tracks. Please don't show me the actual lion." This fable criticizes those who are bold in words but cowardly in deeds. It speaks of those who are courageous in speech but not in action. 327. The hunter and the fisherman. A hunter was coming down from the mountain after his hunt. At the same time, a fisherman was walking along with a basket full of fish. The two men happened to meet on the path. The hunter preferred fresh fish from the sea, while the fishermen desired wild game from the fields. So they exchanged what they were carrying. From then on, they always traded their catch. This way, they both enjoyed more delicious meals. Eventually, someone gave them this advice. Be careful. Too much familiarity will eventually spoil the goodness of these things. In time, each of you will long for what you originally had. 328. The Cook and the Dog. A man was preparing a feast to entertain a friend and his family. His dog saw another dog he knew and said, "Hey, friend, come and dine with me." The invited dog happily followed and stood watching the lavish meal being prepared. He thought to himself, "Wow, what an unexpected delight. I'll eat my fill today so I won't have to worry about being hungry tomorrow." As he wagged his tail, trusting in his friend's hospitality, the cook noticed him moving about. Without a second thought, he grabbed the dog by the legs and threw him straight out the window. The dog hit the ground and walked away, yelping in pain. Along the way, another dog saw him and asked, "So, how was the feast?" Still dazed, he replied, "It was incredible. I drank so much that I can't even remember how I got out." 329. The Circus Dog and the Street Dogs. A dog trained to fight wild beasts broke free from his collar and ran through the streets. The other dogs saw him and asked, "Why are you running away? You look well fed like a bull." He replied, "Yes, I have plenty of food and stay in good shape, but I'm always at risk of death fighting bears and lions." The other dogs then said to each other, "Our simple life must be better. We don't have to fight lions or bears." 330. The Dog and Her Master. A man was about to go on a journey. He saw his dog standing nearby and said, "Why are you just standing there with your mouth open? Get ready, you're coming with me." The dog wagged her tail, fawning on her master. She replied, "I'm already prepared to go. You're the one who's taking too long." 331. The Dog, the Hare, and the Goatherd. A clever hunting dog flushed out a swift-footed hare from behind a bush. The dog gave chase, but the hare outran him. A nearby goatherd mocked the dog, saying, "That little hare turned out to be faster than you." The dog replied, "There's a big difference between running to catch someone and running for your life." 332. The Dog with a Bell. A dog had a habit of biting people secretly. His master hung a bell on him so everyone would know when he was approaching. The dog, proud of his bell, paraded around the marketplace, shaking it. An old dog said to him, "Why are you showing off? You're not wearing that for your virtue, but as evidence of your hidden wickedness." 333. The Hare and the Fox. The hare asked the fox, "They say you're very crafty, fox. What kind of craft do you practice?" The fox replied, "If you don't believe me, come here. I'll treat you to dinner." The hare followed the fox to her den, but inside there was nothing but the hare himself to serve as the fox's meal. As the hare realized his fate, he lamented, "At great cost to myself, I've learned the origin of your name. It comes not from craft, but from deceit." This fable demonstrates that overly curious individuals often pay a hefty price for recklessly indulging their curiosity. 334. The Lion's Reign. Once a lion became king. He was not hot-tempered, cruel, or violent. Instead, he was gentle and just like a human. During his reign, all the animals gathered to settle their disputes. Each animal was held accountable. The wolf for what he did to the sheep, the leopard for what she did to the wild goat, the tiger for what he did to the deer, and the dog for what he did to the hare. The timid hare then said, "I have long prayed to see this day, when even the weak are feared by the strong." 335. The Eagle and the Lion. An eagle flew down to a lion and proposed a partnership. "I see no reason why not," the lion replied. "But first you must give me your long wing feathers as a pledge, so I can trust that you will stay true to your word." "How can I trust you as a friend if you can simply fly away whenever you please?" 336. The Lion, the Fox, and the Deer. A sick lion lay in a ravine. He said to his friend, the fox, "If you want me to live, trick the large deer in the forest with your sweet words and bring her to me. I crave her innards and heart." The fox found the deer frolicking in the woods. Cheerfully greeting her, the fox said, "I bring good news. Our king lion, my neighbor, is ill and near death. He wonders who should rule after him. He thinks you're most worthy, as you're impressive and long-lived. Your antlers scare snakes too. You've been chosen to rule. Remember I told you first. I must hurry back. The lion needs my advice. You should visit him too. Even small gestures matter to the dying." The deer's heart swelled at these words. She went to the lion's cave, unaware of the danger. The lion sprang up, but only managed to slash her ears. The deer fled into the woods. The fox was frustrated, and the lion groaned in hunger and despair. He asked the fox to try again. The fox, using all her cunning, set off after the deer. Finding the deer, the fox said, "How can you be so fearful? The lion meant well. He tugged your ear like a father giving advice. You couldn't even handle his weak touch. Now he's upset and says the wolf will be king. What a wicked master he'll be. I swear by all leaves and springs, I serve only you. The lion wants to make you queen of all animals." With these words, the fox persuaded the deer to return. As soon as the deer entered the cave, the lion devoured her, consuming all her bones, marrow, and innards. The fox watched, secretly snatching and eating the fallen heart as a reward for her effort. The lion, searching everything, asked for the heart. The fox, standing at a distance, said she truly had no heart. Don't look for it. What heart could she have had to enter a lion's den twice? 337. The Lion, the Fox, and the Monkey Serving Dinner. A lion once admired the best way of life among humans. He lived in a spacious den and tried to show genuine kindness to the elite beasts of the mountain. His den often hosted many such animals who gathered together civilly. The lion entertained his guests hospitably, serving each their favorite dish. A fox lived with the lion as his friend and companion, and they were very happy together. An elderly monkey served as the carver at feasts, distributing meat portions to guests. For new guests, the monkey would serve the same portion as the lion's, the latest hunt's catch. On these occasions, the fox received smaller leftover portions from the day before. One day, the lion noticed the fox was silent and not eating. He asked, "My wise fox, speak as you used to. Cheer up and join the banquet, dear friend." The fox replied, "O lion, best among beasts, I'm deeply worried, not only about now, but also what's to come. If new guests arrive daily, it will become custom, and soon I won't even have leftovers for dinner." The lion smiled and said, "Blame the monkey for that, not me." 338. Lion and Boar at the Spring. It was summer, when the heat made everyone thirsty. A lion and a wild boar came to drink from the same small spring. They argued about who should drink first, and their argument quickly escalated into a fight to the death. As they paused to catch their breath, they noticed vultures waiting nearby. The vultures were ready to feast on whichever one of them fell. Realizing this, the lion and the boar set aside their anger. They said, "It's better for us to become friends than to be food for vultures and ravens." This story teaches us that it's wise to put an end to harmful conflicts. Such disputes often lead to dangerous consequences for everyone involved. 339. The Lion and the Wild Ass. A lion and a wild ass went hunting together. The lion relied on his strength, while the ass used his swift feet. After they caught some animals, the lion divided the prey into 3 portions. "I'll take the first share because I'm the king," he said. "The second share is mine as your equal partner. As for the third share, it will bring you great harm unless you choose to run away." With that, the lion took everything for himself. It is wise to measure oneself in all things according to one's own strength, and not to align or associate with those who are stronger. 340. The Archer and the Lion. A hunter went up a mountain to hunt. When the animals saw him, they all fled, except for a lion, who boldly challenged him to a fight. The hunter said, "Wait! Don't be so hasty to face me. First, meet my messenger." He then loosed an arrow from a distance, striking the lion deep in the flesh. Terrified, the lion turned and fled without looking back. A fox saw him running and urged him to stand his ground. But the lion replied, "You won't fool me, cunning one. If the man's messenger is this sharp, I don't even want to imagine what he himself is like." One must foresee the end from the beginning and safeguard oneself. 341. The Raging Lion and the Fawn. A lion went into a mad frenzy. A fawn, seeing him from the woods, said, "Woe to us miserable creatures! What won't this maddened beast do when even in his right mind he was unbearable to us?" This fable teaches that all should flee from hot-tempered men accustomed to injustice. especially when they gain power and authority. 342. The wolves and the dogs. The wolves approached the dogs with a proposition saying, "Since we are so alike in many ways, why don't you consider us as brothers and friends? The only thing that separates us is our mindset. We wolves live freely, while you dogs submit to humans, enduring beatings and wearing collars around your necks. You guard their flocks, and when they eat, they toss you nothing but bones. If you agree to our offer, hand over all the flocks to us, and we'll feast together to our heart's content." The dogs readily agreed to this proposal. However, once the wolves entered the sheepfold, they first killed the dogs to prevent them from calling out against the wolves. For those who betray their own country receive such rewards. Annum 343. The wolves and dogs at war. Once wolves and dogs were at war. The dogs chose a Greek as their commander. Though skilled in warfare, he delayed engaging in battle. The dogs fiercely urged him to advance, but he explained, "Do you know why I'm cautious? It's always wise to plan ahead. All our enemies are wolves of the same breed, but we dogs come from many places: Crete, Molossia, Acarnania, Dolopia, Cyprus, and Thrace, to name a few. We're not even the same colour. Some of us are black, some red with white spots, some grey, and some pure white. How can I lead such a diverse army against an enemy that's completely uniform?" This fable shows that when all troops are united in purpose and mind, they can achieve victory against their opponents. 344. The fox, the wolf, and the lions. A certain wolf grew larger than the other wolves. They started calling him Lion, but the foolish wolf couldn't bear this reputation. He left his pack and began to associate with the lions instead. A fox mocked him, saying, "May I never become as puffed up with pride as you are now. For truly, among wolves you may appear a lion, but compared to real lions, you're nothing but a wolf." This fable reminds us that appearances can be deceiving, and no matter how much one tries to pretend, true nature always shows through. 345. The wolf, the fox, and the trap. A fox stood not far from a trap, thinking about different ways to approach the situation. A wolf nearby saw her and approached, asking if he could take the meat. The fox replied, "Come over and take it. You're one of my dearest friends." The wolf eagerly rushed over without hesitation. As he leaned down to grab the meat, he accidentally triggered the trap, and the rod sprang out, striking his forehead and nose. The wolf, now injured, said, "If this is the kind of gift you give to your friends, how could anyone ever want to be your friend?" 346. The wolf and the dog. A wolf saw a large dog tied up with a collar and asked, "Who tied you up and fed you like this?" The dog replied, "A hunter." The wolf then said, "May this never happen to a wolf who is my friend. Hunger is preferable to the weight of a collar." The story shows that even in times of hardship, one should not be a slave to one's stomach. 347. The wolf and the lion. Once a wolf took a sheep from a flock and was carrying it to his den. A lion encountered him and took the sheep away. The wolf, standing at a distance, said, "You unjustly took what was mine." The lion, laughing, replied, "Was it justly given to you by a friend?" This fable reveals the nature of thieves and greedy robbers who, when they face misfortune, blame one another. 348. The wolf and the donkey. A wolf became the leader of his pack and established a law. Whatever prey each wolf caught must be brought to the common pool and shared equally. This was to prevent the others, in their hunger, from turning on one another. A donkey happened to pass by. Shaking his mane, he laughed and said, "A fine law from a wolf. But tell me, why did I see you yesterday hiding your own catch in your den? Come now, bring it out and share it with the others." Put to shame by the donkey's words, the wolf abolished the very law he had made. 340 lamp. A lamp, drunk on its own oil, shone brightly and boasted, "I shine more brilliantly than the sun." Just then a sudden gust of wind blew past and extinguished its flame. Someone relit the lamp and said, "Shine, lamp, but be silent. The light of the stars never goes out." One should not be puffed up in the glory and brightness of life, for whatever a person may acquire, it turns out to be foreign to them. Shla 350. The man, his wife, and the boy outside. In the middle of the night, a boy was singing sweetly. A woman heard him and got up to peek out the window. Seeing the boy, beautiful in the moonlight, she left her sleeping husband and went outside. She met the boy in the street and satisfied her desires. Suddenly her husband woke up and wondered where his wife had gone. Not finding her inside, he didn't just stand there gaping, but followed her outside. He said, "It's all right. Go ahead and persuade the boy to sleep in our house." He brought the boy inside. After that, he had no trouble and joined in whenever the two wanted to do something. This is how the story goes, and the point of the fable is, it's bad to stand there gaping when one has the chance to enjoy oneself.